What will this version of the Jonathan Gannon defense look like by the end of the year? With all the additions, with all the new faces, potentially all the new schemes that we're going to see. How do you think this defense looks? The 2022 Philadelphia Eagle defense will be what this year? Top 5? Top 10? Or decent? Fill in the blank. What will this version of the Jonathan Gannon defense look like by the end of the year? With all the additions, with all the new faces, potentially all the new schemes that we're going to see. How do you think this defense looks and performs, more importantly, by the end of the year? Travis says top 5. Steven says decent. Big pickin'. Top 5 on paper. That's more of a hype comment there, Pickin. Has to be top 10 in order to compete, says Brian. Top 10 for sure, says William. Alex, let's go overall. I'll take it from what you just said. I think you're right to say that, not just in rush defense, pass defense, scoring defense. Good call, Alex. You're right to put a definition on it. Overall defense. That's good, Alex. Appreciate that. Yes, overall. Top 10. Need more training time. Potentially great, says Mike, but I'll save it till I see it. Lewis Bird Gang says, if we're not top 10, someone's getting their ass fired. If you ask Seth Joyner, Gannon is the problem. If you ask Dan Sileo, Jonathan Gannon is the problem as well. I'm going to say this to you where I think this team lands. I think they're top 10. I think there's just too much depth on this football team, especially on that side of the football, to sit there and think that they... Now, look, we saw something happen in Washington last year. I thought that Washington defense last year, now look, when Chase Young ended up going down, that kind of put a little bit of a wrench in the whole machine there in Washington, but they completely underachieved last year. So we've seen this before. When you add new components to a football team, folks, we've seen this kind of stuff. But I think this has the potential to be a top 10 defense. You see, I'm going to say it one more time. I don't think there's really anybody exceptional on it. But I think you have the deepest roster in the league, especially in the O-line and especially in the D-line. It resembles a little bit of what we saw in 2017. The only difference is going into this year, there's obviously more hype on this team. I think you're better at corner as a group. I think there's been an upgrade. I like Marcus Epps. I think he's going to improve. I think by the end of the year, he's going to be a solid football player. I would say this to you, the most improved part of the football team so far for me has been the linebacking core. I've been pretty impressed with what they're doing. When you watch them go around drills and you hear the people talking and you watch what they're fundamentally doing and you hear the players talking and how well that they're really understanding what Jonathan Gannon has been asking them to do this year versus last year, there is a difference by the linebackers just in conversation when they're talking about what they're doing. I think there's better linebackers this year. Well, how about this? On August 5th, it looks that way. That the linebackers right now look like they're more in tune with what's going on. By the way, I would not be shocked to see Jordan Davis be more of the defensive end. You know, when you run a 4.78 at 348 pounds, I don't think I would have a problem putting him out there on the edge versus just putting him on the nose. Why would I waste 4.78 and a 40-yard dash on a nose guard position? Let's see what this kid can do in space. Could he be a Calais Campbell? I don't know. He may be too big to be out there. Then again, Reggie White was 305. This kid's an athlete. We'll put him in an athletic position. Nose guard's not an athletic position. Okay, it's a slug's position. See what he can do. Put him on the short side of the field. If you have to rotate him, okay. Don't let him have to set the edge on the wide side of the field. Let him set the edge on the short side of the field. But when you run a 4.78 and you got that kind of athleticism and you can run those blocks the way he does, I don't know. Let's experiment a little bit. Let's see what the kid has. I don't necessarily have to just isolate him inside. Why not put him out there a little bit? You see, Jonathan Gannon has a little bit more leeway now to use players and move them around. Sweat, Milton Williams, Graham. You can move these guys, Hassan Reddick. You can move these guys all around now. Brian, I'm more apt to move a guy who runs a 4.78 around than I am a guy who runs a 5 flat and is a nose guard. Like, I'm not running Fletcher Cox around, even in his prime. Guy who runs a 4.78 at 338 pounds, I think I might do that. Let's see what he can do. See what he can do. I think this team has a great chance to be great, this defensive team, for the Eagles. And I'm going to say, I think they have a great chance to be a top 10. I don't know. But when you're a top 5, that means you're an elite pass rushing team. Your turnover ratio is sensational. I mean, let's see what happens out of the gate, okay? By the way, they had practice off today. And by the way, that's a league thing. I found out from the collective bargaining agreement. It's pretty much league-wide. Now, from what I understand, they increased it. I'm going to ask Rich McKay here in a couple minutes. They increased practice time this year more than they have in the past. Okay? I mean, so this year you're seeing more hitting and actually more guys in pad time than you did last year. They've done a lot of little nuances because of the 17th game to try to keep players healthier. That has been a priority. And see, I had Bill Romanowski on yesterday, and Bill was talking about how the 49ers back in the day never practiced in full gear. And I mean, God, they won 5 Super Bowls during that entire era. He won 2 just when he was there. And they were always the healthiest team at the end of the season. But then again, like I said, when you have Joe Montana, Ronnie Lott, Jerry Rice, I mean, you got a pretty good football team there, right? So, I mean, you have some of the greatest players in the history of the sport that are on that football team, but they were healthy, and you had a Hall of Fame coach and Roger Craig. So there's more practice time now. I just don't know. I just want to see how they get out. Now, look, Bill said yesterday, hey, man, when you really aren't hitting anybody and you're a football player and you're a defensive-minded guy, you can't wait to knock someone on their ass. He's right. You're supposed to see somebody in a different uniform. I think that's kind of where the mentality in Philadelphia is right now with that defense. These guys are hungry to get on the field and start these controlled scrimmages and also play the Jets next week. So I get it. So I think this football team has a phenomenal chance to be a top 10 team. And by the way, and I'm talking defense here, then we're going to get over to the offense here in a second here. My only concerns are this. Again, when you have so many toys, sometimes you don't know what to play with and you don't know where to put them all in order. And you don't know what the priorities are sometimes. And sometimes you look at it and you start out coaching yourself or out scheming yourself. The most important thing that defensive unit has to accomplish this year, and here are the goals that I'm putting down for the Eagle defense this year. Try to keep people under 24 points. Try to keep people under 305 total yards. Try to limit people to 19 first downs. Don't give up more than one plus 25-yard play. You put those together in a modern-day NFL with a passing NFL, with yardage in the NFL, you're going to have success.